Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Rise and Shine, and we are beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, it's our breakfast show where we bring you information on topical issues happening in Nigeria. And today it's going to be a big one, as we will be reviewing some administrational strides in Cross River State. Of course, we bring you information about things happening in the whole country. And today our spotlight has moved to Cross River State. To have this conversation with us on set today is the Commissioner for Information and Orientation, in the person of Mr. Eric Anderson. Of course, he's here on set. Also, he's the immediate past Commissioner for Culture and Tourism Development, Cross River State. Good morning, Mr. Anderson. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'll just throw in my $1 million question.
Yeah, always.
Before we get to it. Yes. So it's a long journey from Cross River State getting here this morning. How was your trip?
It was terrible. It was terrible. You know, it's a good platform we have here. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
Good job you guys are doing. First, private TV in Aqua Cross. We've been trying to encourage the sister states collaborations in entertainment, all along as I was in culture and tourism. But the federal government needs to come to our aid. We are just not connected just because of the road. Terrible. It took me about 3 hours to get here. So, but I know, you know, some work is being done, but it's so slow. It's on slow pace. So I'd like to use this platform to encourage the federal government to speed up. If it needs funding, they should fund it. You know, so we can have our Aqua Cross, you know, together.
Yeah, sure. And I'm very particular. Yeah, I was trying to ask how your journey was from, you know, the head of the road down there, down to the office here.
There's room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. I like that.
That's a really diplomatic way to put it, but we'll leave with that this morning.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're looking at Cross River State in retrospect. A lot has been happening in recent times, and obviously we are going to spotlight more on the tourism industry in Cross River State, knowing fully well that you are the you know, immediate past Commissioner for Culture and Tourism in the state, and so far so good. I think you have done well for yourself and for the state as well. We've seen tremendous improvement in that aspect, but maybe that should be just an opinion of a small population of people in Cross River State, you know, and across board as well. But let's get your opinion, you know, from all the things you had done as Commissioner for Tourism and Development at the time. How was it for you? What would you say was the success story? What would you say have been the giant strides in tourism in Cross River State?
Well, for us as a government, we came in 2015. I didn't start immediately. I came in at some point as Special Assistant to His Excellency, the Governor of Cross River State, Senator Professor Ben Ayade. He actually had kept back the Ministry of Culture and Tourism Development to himself to monitor personally. You know, so some 1 year plus into the government, I was actually elevated to the position of Commissioner. My worry, first of all, was how to sustain what we met on ground.
Okay.
And of course, you know that we actually run and produce the biggest street party in Africa, which is the Calabar Carnival. And then also to make sure that all of our tourism sites are visitor ready at any point in time. You know, so as of 2 weeks ago, I was redeployed to the Ministry of Information and Orientation. And I can tell you for a fact that every single tourism site in Cross River State, I left it at the point that they can receive visitors, from the ranch all the way down to the central. You have the monolith, you know, Bokun Waterfalls, Maurice Lesser House, Marina Resort, down to Old Calabar, Paw Falls, and many other attractions around. But for us, our tourism has fared, you know, but for the 2 years of the pandemic, we had to call, of course. We also belong to the committee of world tourism producers, like Rio Carnival, Notting Hill, you know, the one in Germany, the one in TNT. So we had to shut down as well. Of course, the restrictions wouldn't allow us to hold the carnival for 2 years, in 2020 and 2021. Another big challenge was how to actually come out from the pandemic in 2022 and hold a big carnival. And then, of course, we had put our heads together and then also thought on how we can come out and be different from 2019, which was the last, carnival before 2022. So first of all, we had to increase the bands from 5 competing bands to 7 competing bands, knowing fully well that there were a lot of other non-competing bands, which meant that a lot of people were now interested in the competition. So we had to create 2 additional bands, Diamond Band and Las Vegas Band. So last year, we had 7 bands that competed. We also, during my being Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, His Excellency had created some excitement around our festival. Like the Bikers Parade, that has about 500 bikers come by every year. We also created the Miss Africa Beauty Pageant, where we have over 30 African countries send in their participants. And last year we created another exciting event, the Arabian Party, all Arabian costumes, drinks, food, and all of that is set and all. We also had created the old school, party, to, reminisce on the old pattern of dance, music, and all of that.
Yeah.
We also brought back our night of praise and worship, where we had about 4 of our very strong music ministers, Messi Chinwo. We had Jimmy Desani, Jimmy's from Akwa Ibom. We had Moses Blizzy from Akwa Ibom. And also we had Joe Praise. So when I say that we've been trying to push for the sister state collaboration, I mean it to every word.
Yeah.
Even in private sector, at some point I was chairman of the Actors Guild of Nigeria Cross River State Chapter, 2011 to 2013. Yeah. There we get to come here to do films with the Armstrong, the Moses, Kenneth Cannon, and all of them, and they also come over the other way. And then into the ministry, we also had come up with this aquacross cycling parade, which we brought the brothers from Akwa Ibom down to Cross River, and we also brought our brothers from Cross River down here. So a lot of stuff we've done in the tourism sector, but I can tell you for free once more that every single aspect of our tourism in Cross River State is functional.
Every aspect is functional.
Absolutely.
I think it's something that is worth celebrating, because we know that Cross River State is the hub for tourism in Nigeria as it stands. But then we would always have room for development and, for it to be carried out international standards. Now, why am I saying so? Aside when we have the carnival and major events, there needs to be like a month in, month out, or bi-monthly activity that people can always be like, if I am going to have a holiday, I can pitch Cross River State to go for this holiday.
Yeah, actually, my thoughts actually is that we've also been able to develop ourselves. So besides the events the government gets to sponsor, we also have private sponsored events. So we have comedians. I stayed in Lagos at some point, and we all decided to come back and build up across. So I came back in 2010, and here we are. This is the success story so far. So we have the Last Prophet, the MC Daddy Boys. They all have different comedy shows every other month. There are other private, events. But then, besides the festival in December, the government actually has the Leboku Festival in August. We have the Northern Festival sometime in November. We have the Akachat Festival in January, right? So you have a reason to be in Calabar any time of the month, because there's one event or the other.
Okay, so a full calendar.
It's a full calendar.
Okay,
and of course we also have our religious experiences. Okay. The Brotherhood of Cross and Star has its world headquarters in Calabar. Okay. So there's, at every point in time, they have their event, their Tunde, sometime in August, and they pull in the religious traffic to Cross River State. So besides visiting sites, and those events, we also have our religious tourism aspect fully stirred up.
Okay, so something else I want to talk about in line with tourism is usually infrastructure. When we raise infrastructure, the maintenance of this infrastructure also drives the traffic for tourism. Now, I know that we had some infrastructure built up by the former two governors behind. That would be Donald Duke now, when he brought Tinapa.
Yes.
Now, I know if a couple of years back, I personally had visited that place, and it was a shadow of where everybody always dreamed of going. So far, so good. Let's talk about infrastructure, sites and scenes that promote tourism. How has it been like from the time you were there as the commissioner, maintaining those infrastructure, revamping the ones that had begun to die down? What's the state of infrastructure for tourism?
And maybe let me just add this, because sometime in 2020, when we had the NSAS protest, there was just some demolition and destructions across the state, and it also affected a place like Tinapa as well, and other places around the state. So in line with what Uya is asking now, how have we been able to revamp all of those places, and how is it going so far?
Well, we actually haven't revamped all of it. For infrastructure, yes, we met quite a number of them, and as I said earlier on, that our trouble was how to first of all sustain, what we have had on ground. The Tinapa project basically has its policy issues and all, but then we're able to manage ourselves through up until NSAS set in. Good thing, I actually am the chairman of the NSAS Recovery Committee, and I went around all of the properties that were destroyed, about 159. About 159.
That's a lot of number.
That's a lot of number.
Yeah.
I've appeared before the Senate Committee on Judiciary to defend what was destroyed. I brought them to Calabar. They came in their numbers, and they had seen themselves the Tinapa Hotel, CICC, our newspaper corporation, private residence of our politicians, Keshombasi, Domaigba, a lot of them, so what we're asking now is that federal government comes to our aid. We know that there's some level of support that is given to states in needs like this. So that's what we're asking for. But then we've been able to clean up a few of the places around. Some offices were destroyed, Ministry of Works, we've been able to clean it up a bit. We've been able to clean up the water parks at Tinapa. It's functional as we speak now. The studio was actually scraped off, right? But we've been able to manage to bring in productions in the last year into 2 years. We've had about 3 big productions directed by Izu Ojuku, and it's almost out there. So we've been able to manage those infrastructure as much as we can, but on the whole, on the average, we've been able to do well in that regard, and it is functional. It's functional. Yes, please.
Okay. What we will do at this point is that we'll take a very quick break to get to the news brief desk, where we have Mary Joseph on standby to bring us global news. And when we return, of course, this interview with the Commissioner for Information Cross River State, Eric Anderson, will definitely continue. So do stay with us.
Thank you so much for being part of Rise and Shine Daily. Of course, we just came off the news brief desk, where we had Mary Joseph tell us some of the important stories making the rounds in the country and globally as well. But before we went on that news brief break, we were talking to the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Cross River State, and more like administrative review and spotlighting on some of the achievements being carried out in the tourism industry in Cross River State. And so obviously we still have him on set this morning, and yeah, so let's just continue on our conversations. I like the fact that you made mention of trying to tweak the whole tourism, the whole carnival thingy a little bit. The bringing in of new bands. Now it's no longer 5 but 7 new bands. And then the fact that also COVID-19 was a major factor why we did not have it for 2 years,
yes.
consecutively. But we had it last year. Now, do you think that overall what we had last year as the carnival for 2022 was at its best?
Absolutely, it was. That we're able to expand from 5 competing bands to 7, and then had revelers on those bands. That's success for us, because each band comes out with about 1,000 revelers.
Okay.
So if you multiply that by 7, that's 7,000. You know, spectators on the route, those watching on our cable channels. And then the economy around the carnival also very huge. So you have 7,000 people on carnival as revelers, you have 7,000 costumes, you have 7,000 footwears, you have 7,000 headgears. You know, makeup is being done on 7,000 people. And all of this were locally made. You know, we have the garment factory, which is one of the first industries His Excellency, the Governor, Senator Professor Ben Ayade, put in place in the first year of the administration. So we're able to process all of these costumes through the factory.
Okay. Because I was actually going to come to the issue of numerical strength and fellowship. Certain events that have been held in the last couple of months have experienced a drop in fellowship because of several issues happening across the nation. So in terms of successes, we also, you've already enumerated multiplication of 7 into 7,000, but overall, when you look at it, comparing the numerical fellowship of last year's carnival and the previous years, how successful would you rate it?
Extremely successful.
Okay.
You know, the build up to the elections started quite early in last year, sometime it began and all. So there's been that distraction nationally, and of course it affects every other sector. But on the overall, just as I've said, expansion to 7 bands, and we had it filled up. We had our hotels all filled up in the period. Very successful. That's my assessment of it.
Okay, so there was a big twist to the carnival this last year, an unforeseen circumstance. No one saw it coming, no one planned it, and at the time it was a big buzz. The nation was literally at a standstill to see if Governor Ben Ayade and the Cross River State government were going to put on hold the carnival. But a couple of hours later, we had the governor coming out to say, okay, this is a tourism event marked internationally every year, and we are going to go ahead with it. Now, being at the front of affairs in that particular carnival, how was it like for the state government managing the situation and navigating, of course, to decide to continue with the carnival?
It was actually a sad moment for us, because we're all out there on the route on that day. And then all of a sudden a stray guy, ran into, a group of spectators. So it was a tough decision for His Excellency. We had calls, people suggesting on social media that we should call off the carnival. But as much as we tried not to be insensitive, because lives were lost, the carnival is also an international brand. It was an accident, and we treated it as such. So immediately His Excellency actually went round, to the scene, and then of course to the hospital to see those that were in the hospital, and that was able to calm nerves. And then the next day we were on the route for the carnival proper. So, I mean, we just can't apologize to Nigerians, enough. But of course, it's a platform to also say that we feel terribly bad about that incident. It is not something anybody planned for. But I mean, God knows why.
Were there arrests made in terms of the culprits now?
The young man was arrested immediately and is still in detention, still investigating.
Okay, I think we should just hang it there on the tourism issues. You're now Commissioner for Information and Orientation in Cross River State. How would you say it has been so far? And I think one major issue that generated a lot of controversies a couple of days ago is, I know that this is not a conversation that is new. It's been something that has come up, and then the government had tried to see how they can relocate tankers from parking on the highway, the major highway now in Cross River State, to some other place. So just give us perspective on how that is going, and of course this recent one where people decided to cry out loud in terms of their security and safety on the major highway in Calabar.
Well, we've been on this for a couple of weeks, but lately, 2 days ago, we actually took a decision on where to move those tankers to for the time being, right? There's a place we had provided for them at Lemna, right? But then it's a small space, you know. Then every tanker that comes in from those companies, they have their own parking, you know, spaces. But the main issue that we've had in the last couple of weeks is that only the Calabar depot had product in South-South. That's why you saw that influx of tankers to Calabar to lift. And then when you come to Calabar to lift, after lifting, there's something they call Aquila. Aquila is some intervention given to every tanker to subsidize the logistics of coming to pick up product, right? And now that also helps that there's no theft on the product, so it doesn't increase on the other end. Now, to get your Aquila number just after loading, right, you have to wait and access the system. Abuja sends a feedback before you print out. So sometimes they have the network issues. So you have the guys filing in, you know, because Calabar Port Depot is the only one in South-South that has product, and the ones filing out because they're waiting to get their Aquila numbers. So once they get to their destination, they're able to get their stipend. So that's the situation we found ourselves. But about 2 days ago, we actually confronted them squarely and like, look, you cannot park on the highway. Okay. There's so much going on the highway. There's schools, residential areas, and the most the filling stations we have in Calabar Metropolis is on the highway. Yeah. You know, so any little spark, we're in trouble. So we've been able to push some of them back into Lemna, some of them back into Tinapa Road, and then His Excellency has also graciously approved of a more spacious, you know, place for them on the highway, you know, as you're coming into from after Palmol on the highway, as you're coming into Calabar. So it's reducing. You know, I personally went out about 4 days ago and did a head count of those tankers, and I had about 190. The next day I went out again, you know, about 150. As at yesterday, I counted about 70. And this is the reality on ground. So there's been an improvement on that. And they are also loading, you know, so we're on it. You know, there's cooperation from both ends, you know, from the government and from, you know, the dealers. And I'm sure within the next week, we should be able to have sanity on that stretch.
Okay, so another thing majorly that I would like us to talk about, it just crossed my mind now, and I don't think I'll forgive myself, and I don't think a lot of Cross Riverians will forgive me if I sit down here and not ask you that question. Now, Cross River State has majorly been known as one of the cleanest states in, you know, South Nigeria, or even in the whole country. But all of a sudden, we are beginning to see that that narrative is changing. I've had a couple of people, you know, that go on social media trying to like give us the true picture of what we are or where we stand as to the cleanliness in Cross River State. And it's quite saddening to see that a once clean and green state is becoming, you know, a shadow of itself. A shadow of itself and a death plot, you know, for citizens in Cross River State. So what would you say has been done in that regard? Is it changing? Is it getting worse? Or what exactly is happening?
Okay, we had our moments some months ago, right? As you know, every state has its own those moments where, you know, things seem not to go exactly how you planned. But, you know, at some point we also had the hike in diesel. And we have vendors, we have contractors that actually evacuate for us, right? So at the point we had the hike in diesel, they also asked for a review in their pay. And you know, it's government, it takes a while. But then on the overall, it is also the responsibility of the citizens where, you know that there's no dump stand at a spot, but you still throw the stuff on the ground. It takes more time to take out than when you're able to put it in the dump the bin proper. So we'll just lift. You know, it was that moment that you know, the whole place was so messy, but we intervened. And as I speak to you, everywhere is clean. I mean, of course.
Now, some people would think that the intervention came because there was this outcry on social media.
No, we're a sensitive government, my darling. We are. You know, so we know where we need to put in effort. You know, it took a while for us to review pay to contractors, to contractors, right? And of course, to get them to get to work again, it had piled up, and they're like, okay, we didn't pile this up. Go clean up your mess, and then we'll continue on our daily evacuation. So for about a month, we were going back and forth on that. But as I speak, I mean, we're able to overcome that.
Comparatively, the Cross River that was known for cleanliness, and the state that it is after the state government has come into the situation as it is, what would your comparison be? Are you back on track, or it's just a matter of, okay, we do not have heap of dirt on the sides of the road, but we are not back to being that clean?
We are back on track, right? We can only improve. We can only improve on what we have, and it also goes beyond clearing the heaps. There are no heaps in Calabar as I speak to you, but it's also a personal hygiene thing, where you do not get to throw things out of your window while driving, where you know where to dump whatever it is, So
there was a system back in the day where if you tried that, you were going to be nabbed on the spot.
Maybe we need to improve on our enforcement. It's enforcement basically everywhere. Whatever policies government puts in place, if you do not enforce, you can't get the best out of it. So I mean, I know that we need to put in more effort in enforcement, but all of those things, they're there. And also now I'm in information, so I have a responsibility to go over the whole orientation thing again. So we're putting out materials out there, telling people what to do and what not to do. So it's work in progress,
But would you say that it's a fault of lack of continuance with governance? Because at the point where Cross River State was at the peak of cleanliness, it was when there was a Donald Duke as the governor. When the Elimoke came, it was still sustained until it began to fall apart. Would you say it's a problem of lack of continuance?
Did you say fall apart?
Yes, the cleanliness began to fall apart. Like it's
so we came in and I'll say this again. Every government that comes in, first thing is to think of how to sustain, right? And every government also comes in with its own program, to see how to further develop. Not to say that we didn't pay attention to every aspect of government, but we also came in trying to develop the industries, to build industries and develop, so handling all of that, excuse me, at the same time, it was quite much, but then we've been able to scale through. We have just 4 months to go, and I can tell you for a fact that we have at least one industry in every of the local governments in Cross River State. So to carry that on one hand and sustain on one hand, it's a huge
Honorable Commissioner, sir, I'm definitely going to come to you on that, but if you're just joining us, we've been talking on some administerial reviews in Cross River State. We've talked on culture and tourism, how far it has been. We've talked about of course, Cross River State and the cleanliness therein, and the phone lines are on your screen, so you can be a part of our conversation. You have questions, you have an opinion, please share with us very quickly this morning. But let's look at it. Thank God you made mention of it. 4 months to the wrap-up of this particular administration, and some Cross Riverians have their reservations in terms of how this present administration has spanned out. Some think, okay, so we have a call. Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Okay, go ahead.
My question goes to the Commissioner. So first I'd like to congratulate you, Commissioner, for the Carnival. This year was really a beautiful outing.
Thank you.
I haven't lived in Calabar within the course of my life. When I visited Cross River, one of the things that I saw was the fact that the cleanliness level that we used to identify Cross River State in the past days, particularly the metropolis of Calabar, is no longer the same as that when I visited for the Carnival. So what is the government of Cross River State doing about the state's environment in terms of sanitation and cleanliness?
All right, thank you so much, Ola from Lagos. Commissioner, sir, please.
Okay, Ola, thank you very much. Thanks for calling in. We are doing our best. I can say that for a fact. We have a very functional Ministry of Environment, and then under Environment we have the Calabar Urban Development Authority, CUDA, and we also have the Waste Management. So every single day we get to sweep our major roads, and then we also get to evacuate as much as we can. So it's never enough. It's something that people get to pull out every single day, right? Okay. So all we do is to clean up behind them. We also have that issue of how to enforce and control where people get to dump. So it's never enough. We'll just keep on it.
Okay.
And I can assure you.
We have another call.
Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. What's your name and where are you calling us from, please?
Okay, my name is Patrick Mengi, and I'm calling you from River State.
Okay. Fantastic. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was wondering what really happened to Tinapa. Tinapa was a world-class tourist center in Calabar that brings tourism to not just to Calabar alone, but to the south. So what the Honorable Commissioner doing, as in as much as they have just 4 months to leave the office, but what are they doing in transition to make sure that Tinapa comes up back alive so that not just Calabar, but the entire South will be beneficiary to it? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Patrick. Please, sir.
Okay, thank you for calling from Bonnie. Hope you're okay this morning. For Tinapa, I had earlier, mentioned in passing, had a lot of policy issues, but then we're also affected by NSAS. Yet again, right, for us in Cross River State, regardless of party, we believe that we have a responsibility to continue on whatever we meet on ground as a government. We have, of course, done so in 2015 when we came in, that we were able to complete the CICC, convention center. Yeah. The monorail wasn't commissioned when we took over, but yes, we did. For Tinapa, it's almost impossible to make a commitment as we speak because we have just 4 months to go. But a few elements of the Tinapa as a whole is functional. As I mentioned, the water parks is on. The 240 room hotel unit, which is the biggest in South, was brought down by NSAS, so it takes a lot. It would take a lot of money and, of course, time. So
okay,
we're believing
let's just take a quick call. I hope you will remember your... Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Okay, drop call so you can just continue.
So we're believing that the next government will come in and continue on most of these things. Yes, I also mentioned the industries. Our industries are different levels of completion. Some of them are functional, some of them are to tidy up. But then, there are things you can't achieve in 4 years. There are things you can achieve in 8 years.
Let's just take this. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, dropped call. Please go ahead.
So there are things you can achieve in 4 or 8 years. Just as Commissioner for Information, I'm just 2 weeks and I have 4 more weeks. And I tell the people in the sector, look, there are things we can achieve in a week, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. The conversations we will start up that will be rounded up in 1 year. So we're believing that we'll keep proper structure on ground, that anybody that comes in after us is able to continue on it. And the thing is that regardless of the party anybody's coming in from, we're all Cross-Riverians. So you have a duty.
Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, so do us a favor, please. Whenever you call, please do well to turn down the volume of your TV screen or TV set so we have a smooth conversation. We do not like the holdbacks we get before conversations, please.
Okay. I think one of the 4 lines that people may ask, because you're saying we have 4 months to the end of this administration. The Governor Ben Ayade administration has had upwards of 8 years. So people like Ola who called, I think it was the man from Bonnie who called about the situation, Patrick, who called about the situation with Tinapa, would ask, in all of the 8 years, even before the NSAS became a problem to Tinapa, why wasn't there like a resurrection project for the Tinapa resort?
Well, beyond Tinapa, right, I'll also mention that every government comes in with its own plan, right? And policy issues are not things you just walk into any office and get a document out. There are conversations that will go on for a period of time. So whilst that was going on, we're also concentrating on building industries. So the question now I should be asking is, before Senator Professor Ben Ayade came in 2015, how many industries did we have in Cross River State? You could count with your fingers.
Okay, so I like the fact that you keep bringing us back to the initial question I wanted to ask. 4 months to the wrap-up of this particular administration, not a lot of Cross-Riverians have actually believed in this administration and all the things they said they have done. And then you're talking about, I know that the governor had so much to say about, and you know, agro-industrialization and industrialization in its, you know, totality in Cross River State, but not a lot of people believe that these factories that have been done by this present administration are even on ground and workable.
Well, it's a uniform issue in Nigeria. You know, so every government tries to round up, and there are people, set of people that don't believe that they have done the much they've talked about. You know, so we're also experiencing it in Cross River State. But the fact and the reality on ground is that we have 18 local governments in Cross River State. We have 7 in the south, 6 in the central, 5 in the north. Every single local government has, you know, a cottage industry, from Obanliku down to Bakassi. You know, at different stages, I've said. You know, so we tried to start up the Bakassi Deep Sea Port and the superhighway that will cross you over all of the local governments into the north, which is shorter for the northerners to come do their port business.
Those were like the signature projects. Okay, before we continue, we have a call. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Rise and Shine. Good morning, Janice.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Your name is what?
My name is Francis. I'm calling from Jabi in Abuja.
Okay, go ahead, Francis.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Commissioner of Information in Cross River State. How are you doing today?
Very well, good morning.
Yes, actually, I have friends in Cross River State, actually, and most of the time, most of them come to in Abuja to tell me about the rate of courtism in the southern part of Calabar South particularly. So I just wanted to know, you know, if the state government is aware of the spate of courtism in Calabar South, and what are their plans towards alleviating all of that for the safety of the citizenry in that area.
Okay, thank you so much, Francis. That almost took my breath away.
Same here. Francis,
but there's, let me just put things in perspective. I think there's there's also that fear about Calabar South. You know, when people come to Calabar,
the same fear you have for Jota, same fear you have for Jegule, same fear you have for you know, there are areas, there are places you go to Delta State or Warri, you're scared of any. You get my point. So there are places like that in every single state.
But what exactly is happening in the southern parts of Calabar? We hear things like Temple Run. Of course, when we hear Temple Run, we know what it means. You know, these guys are on rampage and all of that. So tell us what exactly is happening. How is the security situation in Cross River State as a whole?
It has improved. I wouldn't want to defend, you know, stuff like that. It's not a good thing for one to have around you. Yeah. But Calabar South over the years has been known for that. It's actually the extreme, you know, part of town, you know, where all of them, you know, run to. But then in recent times, of course, His Excellency came in and has put in efforts in energizing the security apparatus to chase these guys away. We used to have pockets of kidnapping here and there, but we're not hearing any of those any longer. We have a special unit set up by police, and it's called the Anti-Kidnapping and Cultism. If you get into Calabar and anybody tells you, I'll send them after you, you should run for your life. Okay. So, I mean, they're doing a great job around the entire state, not only in Calabar South. We have pockets of issues over time in Boki. We have pockets of issues over time in Abi, in Yala, in Ogoja. But none of those have been talked about. So I wonder why my friend from Abuja is bringing us back to.
Calabar South has been notorious. So sometimes those informations linger. If we do not have opportunities like this for you to clear the air and tell about the improvement of security in the area, it might still be a problem.
Beyond sending security personnel after them, another approach to that has been that His Excellency had actually come up with a plan, and it's called Food on the Table. Now, every local government, of course, has 1 or 2 or 3 commissioners. Every local government has at least 1 or 2 or 3 special advisors, special assistants, special assistants, personal assistants. And then we also have broken it down so much, we've demystified it so much that in every polling unit of Cross River State, you have about 10 people that are paid by government. You know, at their government, you know. So once you're able to bring these guys out, bring them close to government. It has reduced criminality, a whole lot. So the guys are out there every day and you know them, so they will just start refraining from all of those things. So it has reduced. Beyond sending police after them, security after them, they themselves have come close to government, have seen the need, to clean themselves up.
Okay.
All right, so...
yeah, let me just say this before you ask your question, please, and then we get to wrap up. It's a transition period, and there's so much, going around in terms of politicking in Cross River State, the whole Back to South mantra. So just in a nutshell, tell us how that is playing out, and yeah, just tell us how it's playing out.
It's rotational.
Okay, so we have a call, and that's going to be our last call for this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name, please, and where are you reaching us from?
Okay, my name is Fonobo. I'm actually from Calabar South.
Okay, you're in Calabar South right now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Fantastic. Please go ahead.
Though at the point I travel, I leave Calabar South and came back last year. I watched your program, Rise and Shine, and I think I'm in love with what is happening. Thank God my Honorable Commissioner is there.
Thank you so much.
I listened to the last caller that talked about cultism, and I want to really emphasize on that because though I left for a very long time, and I am back, I'm still seeing the same thing that used to happen then. As I'm talking to you, yesterday, my sister's phone was out of her, and because some boys grabbed her and got the phone from her along a tugboat side. And it was very bad as of yesterday. It has been happening like that, cultism threatening lives there. And I really want to, because like I asked yesterday, thank God the Honorable Commissioner is there, what is really happening with our security, that they are not up to their game again this time. Calabar South is still giving us a day. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much.
And I'm sorry about that. This issue of security is actually the responsibility of government, and of course it's not completely the responsibility of government, because we also need to, as citizens, be part of it. But then, thanks for pointing it out. I will, of course, send words to the appropriate authorities. But please ask your sister, or you can come to my office on Monday to get a replacement of that phone. We're really sorry about that.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay, so let's do a quick run into campaigns and political activities in Cross River State as of now. Just a few moments ago, off camera, we're actually having a conversation of how peaceful the transitions in politics is in Cross River State. So talk about it. How has campaigns been? Your candidates so far? What is the hope for 2023 gubernatorial elections?
And the whole Back to South
all the other
mantra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Back to South, for me, it's rotational, right? In 1999, His Excellency...
I was saying that, sorry sir,
yes,
I was
please.
saying that that was going to be our last call, but we can still take one more, and that will be last. Please control. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Okay,
Okay,
I think
please
that's
go
a
ahead.
drop call.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so in 1999, right, His Excellency Donald Duke came in as governor, and for 8 years, and he handed over. He's from southern part of the state. He handed over to His Excellency Senator Leah Limoke, who is from the central, and of course Senator Leah Limoke handed over to His Excellency Senator Professor Ben Ayade, who is from the north. So if I ask you, if you want to choose a governor for Cross River State, where would you go to? South.
Okay.
So that's just the most fair thing to do. That's the most equitable thing to do. So
you have just north, south, and
yeah, we have
west.
3 senatorial districts.
Okay.
We have the central, we have the south, and we have the north. So we are filing behind Senator Prince Basi Edet Otu, who is, of course, candidate for our party, the APC. Now, we are not just going out to say, look, vote because it is, yes, it's the turn of the South. I mean, we make bold to say it is the turn of the South. We are not just also going out there to say, look, vote for our candidate from the South. We're taking turns to go to every local government, and as we come to a local government, we say, look, this is what we've done in 8 years. It is complete, applaud us. It is almost complete, applaud us. If it's not complete, when Basi comes, he will have it sorted out. So from north down to south, we have cottage industries. We have the British American school. We are going to be commissioning that. Okay, you're nodding.
No, I'm not nodding.
Okay,
I'm taking instructions.
Okay, I thought it was for alphabet. But it's there. So people sit back and say, we haven't seen, we haven't heard. You're just miles away from Obudu. Drive and see for yourself. We have the German hospital, referral hospital in Obudu. We have the passenger and cargo airport in Obudu. You know, it takes you about 6 to 7 hours to drive all the way to the ranch. So we're trying to also break the travel time so you can fly down to, you know, Obudu town proper and have your experience on the ranch. And of course, if you're bringing your person in for treatment in the referral hospital.
So for Cross River State, it's back to south.
It's absolutely back to south.
Okay.
One would have wondered, so whether or not the candidate for your party is viable in the eyes of all, it's just a back to south issue.
No, you know, I was just on it, yeah. You know, so I said beyond that, you know, Prince Basidero too was a federal house member representing Calabar Municipality and Odukwane. Okay. He now went on to the Senate. Okay. You know, so check his track records, you would know how well he did. All right. You know, so in the lineup of about 11 people that came out, you know, to aspire, you know, we found him as the best candidate. Okay, but other political parties apart from the APC, are they also buying into the back to south? Their candidates, are they representing the ideology, the overall? It's a contest. You can't get everybody to buy into it. All right. Okay, all right.
No Thank you so much, Honorable Eric Anderson, Honorable Commissioner for Information, Cross River State. I must say that it's been wonderful talking to you about things happening in Cross River State. Thank you so much for making it down here all the way from Calabar this morning. We do not take it for granted at all.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. On that note, I will take a very short breather now, and when we come back, of course, the National Water Resource Bill seems to be generating a lot of controversies, and we have some stakeholders that are pushing that bill shouldn't stand. They'll be joining us very, very shortly, so do stay with us and go nowhere.